Ezekiel 29:14 through 16. And I will bring again the captivity of Egypt, and will cause them to return into the land of Pathros, into the land of their habitation, and they shall be there a base kingdom. It shall be the basest of kingdoms, neither shall it exalt itself any more above the nations, for I will diminish them, that they shall no more rule over the nations. And it shall be no more the confidence of the house of Israel, which bringeth their iniquity to remembrance, when they shall look after them, but they shall know that I am the Lord God. God is promising that Egypt will continue to exist, but not only would it no longer be a preeminent nation, it would be a base nation. Throughout the Old Testament, Egypt was a strong and prominent nation. Today, it is a third world nation. Think of how many other nations and empires have faded and are only known in history books. Not so for Egypt. Mark 13:7 and 8. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in divers places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows. Matthew 24:6 and 7 that follows is a parallel passage. Jesus warned us that wars and rumors of wars would be constant, but not a specific end times event. While wars have been with mankind for thousands of years, hearing of wars and rumors of wars are much more prevalent with the advent of modern communications. Even ethnic wars are reported, and numerous ethnic conflicts rage constantly. Remember, these are the beginnings of sorrows. Matthew 24:6 and 7. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. Mark 13:7 and 8 are parallel passages. Note the terms of nation against nation is not the same as kingdom against kingdom. Historically, kingdoms tended to be made up of ethnically related peoples. This indicates that ethnic conflicts would be common, such as what has been seen in the former Yugoslavia as well as in Central and Eastern Africa. Reported earthquakes are becoming more common, and not just in historically active zones, such as the Pacific Ring of Fire. Unlike Mark, this passage in Matthew mentions pestilences, which include things like COVID-19, Ebola in West Africa, SARS in Asia, and the avian flu in China. Things like the West Nile and Zika viruses previously unknown to the United States are now spread across the country. Luke 21:10 and 11. Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. Matthew 24:6 and 7 are parallel passages. Mark, Matthew, and Luke here all call attention to the famines throughout the world. History has shown that a major volcano eruption can radically affect growing seasons worldwide. In the last century, war, ethnic cleansing, and genocide accounted for more than 100 million killed, often in the name of peace and harmony. Luke's account adds the fearful sights and great signs from heaven that will be seen. Fearful sights can include terrorist attacks, such as the destruction of the World Trade Center towers on 9/11/2001. Terrorism has exploded, with an estimated nearly 100,000 attacks since 1975. Signs from heaven are expounded upon in the Yet to Happen topic set. 1 Thessalonians 5:1 through 4. But of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. The day of the Lord will not be seen by the world prior to it arriving. This will come when the people of the world think that peace and safety have arrived. When this happens, it is likened to a woman about to give birth in its suddenness. Believers are reassured that they will not be blind to the coming day of the Lord like the rest of the world. This prophecy tool is designed because this day is approaching and we are not in darkness. Revelation 6, 5 through 8. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. The black horse represents famine, and the balances show the cost of a measure of wheat. When Revelation was written, a penny was approximately a day's wages for a common man's labor. This would represent a high cost for just a measure of wheat. It seems the oil and wine consumed by the wealthy will be available still. If the pale horse represents death, and 25% of the world's population perishes from war, famine, death by disease, and the animal world turning on mankind, this indicates that nearly 2 billion souls will die. Diseases such as AIDS, SARS, COVID-19, the avian flu, plague, and West Nile virus will be widespread, and they will affect nearly every family on earth. Luke 21:25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Jesus uses the term distress of nations with perplexity. So many of today's issues such as terrorism, nuclear proliferation, wars, unstable economies, and mutating diseases have world leaders in a quandary with no clear answers on how to deal with a variety of issues. Fear seems to be the most common emotion as a response to each new challenge. Daniel 8:23 through 25. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. The Antichrist will entice the world with the promise of peace. The temporary peace he ushers in will be the cause of the destruction of many. People all over the world yearn for peace, so much so that millions will follow a man of promises. While initially able to create peace through treaties, it will be ended quickly. Daniel 9:27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Many Bible expositors suggest the Antichrist will confirm a peace treaty for a week of years, 7 years. However, in the middle of this peace, he will violate the treaty by desecrating the Jewish temple yet to be built. This treaty will be with many nations signing on, so it will appear to be a comprehensive peace meeting the desires of the many nations involved. Another teaching puts this in the past when Jesus was ministering on this earth, and that the covenant he confirmed was with the nation of Israel. Daniel 2:40 through 44. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, forasmuch as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, forasmuch as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Daniel's vision describes a fourth kingdom that would be divided, part of clay and part iron, but overall with the strength of iron. This kingdom was the Roman Empire that followed the Babylonian, Medo-Persian, and Greek empires. It appears the Roman Empire would revive, but would be made up of individual countries, some weaker, clay, and some much stronger, iron, and be independent, shall not cleave one to another. These leaders and their kingdoms, countries, will be consumed and replaced by the kingdom forever ruled by Jesus. Daniel 7:23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. This fourth kingdom will be diverse from all kingdoms, and will become a global entity. Whether this is an extension of the United Nations or a new entity cannot be determined by this verse alone. It states the power over all the earth will be complete. Revelation 13:7 and 8. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. This absolute power over all the nations and groups worldwide will be possessed by one man, the Antichrist. The Antichrist will be worshipped worldwide and will show the ultimate blending of religion and government until Jesus appears and rules forever. Deuteronomy 28:37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. God tells us the Jews would be a separated and noted people throughout all the nations. Jeremiah 29:18. And I will persecute them with the sword, with the famine, and with the pestilence, and will deliver them to be removed to all the kingdoms of the earth, to be a curse, and an astonishment, and an hissing, and a reproach among all the nations whither I have driven them. God promised the Jews they would be a reproach among all the nations, and that they would be driven throughout the nations. The Jews have suffered persecution, death, famine, and disease throughout their history. Jeremiah 44:8. In that ye provoke me unto wrath with the works of your hands, burning incense unto other gods in the land of Egypt, whither ye be gone to dwell, that ye might cut yourselves off, and that ye might be a curse and a reproach among all the nations of the earth. God says the Jews provoked his wrath by being unfaithful, and that they would be a curse and reproach among all the nations of the earth. Luke 21:20 through 24. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. O woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck, in those days! For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Jesus warned the Jews of his day that Jerusalem would be surrounded, and for those of Judea to flee. The Jews would be led away captive and scattered among all nations. Jerusalem would be occupied by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Jerusalem was not occupied with Jewish control from AD 70 until it was reconquered in 1967. Psalm 83, 4 through 8. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot. Selah. These verses give the names of all the nations that were surrounding Israel in its past. It indicates these nations have consulted together and are confederate against Israel. The Bible gives us the names of these nations so that the peoples could be identified when the prophecy was given. Today, these peoples include the modern nations of Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. This confederation was not so in the past, but is a prophecy for the future. Each of these nations will be destroyed, and the credit will be given to the Lord. Zechariah 12, 2 and 3. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. Jerusalem and Israel is the primary focus of the United Nations. The number of resolutions dealing with Israel dwarf all other issues. Many nations around the world tremble at the thought of war and see Jerusalem as the most crucial issue, especially in their view of how to attain world peace. It will be a burdensome stone for everyone. It is stated that all nations around Jerusalem will surround it, and all nations will gather together against it. This could mean there will be two events, and not just a single event. Yet God promises that all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. The long-sought-for unity of the world will lead to destruction and not to a lasting world peace. Luke 21, 29 through 32. And he spake to them a parable. Behold the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. The nation of Israel is likened to a fig tree in the Bible. All the trees would speak of other nations. Since World War II, the colonial powers of the world allowed many people and lands the right of self-determination and to form their own countries. In the last 75 years, The number of nations has exploded, shooting forth quickly. Joel 3, 9 through 14. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves, and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The prophet Joel wrote that all the Gentile men of war will gather together with their implements of war, believing these weapons give them strength. The armies of the world will be judged for their wickedness in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Matthew 24:22. And except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. In the last days, warfare will be so destructive that God will have to put an end to it, or else mankind would completely destroy itself. When Jesus spoke these words, there were only weapons such as swords and spears. The technology of weapons capable of destroying entire populations was only developed within the last 100+ years, beginning with the chemical weapons of World War I. Revelation 9:14 through 16. Saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, Loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the 1/3 part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000,000, and I heard the number of them. Slaying a 1/3 part of mankind represents more than 2 billion souls. The army is numbered at 200 million. When this prophecy was given, it is estimated that there were well less than 500 million people worldwide. At the time, this number was seen as symbolic, but the population of the world has grown to the point where more than one nation could field an army of this size if it was viewed as critical for their survival. Revelation 16:12. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. This verse gives additional detail for the passage in Revelation 9:14 through 16. The army will come from the east of Israel, and the Euphrates River will be dried up to allow this massive army to move beyond it. It may be noted that the Ataturk Dam in Turkey can severely restrict the flow of the Euphrates.